These are some of the best RPGs according to Google. But is this really the best that mobile gaming has to offer? Spoiler alert, it's not, thankfully. Just look at this, or even this one. That's more like it, right? So today I'm gonna share 10 of these awesome RPGs you can play offline, and you definitely don't want to miss any of these, including the 5 bonus games that I'm also gonna recommend. So, let's go. The first game is Ticket to Earth, and this is a really well-made, story-driven sci-fi tactical RPG where we fight through a campaign full of turn-based battles separated by interesting cutscenes. During combat, we can only move along tiles of the same color, and the longer the path we create is, the more damage we deal. But we can only attack enemies if we get close to them, so it's all about finding the longest path that still gets us to the enemies. The game also features a bunch of different characters and skills, which means the combat system is deep and just chock full of tactical decision making. And apart from the story-based battles, there are also lots of side missions in this game that provide us with coins, either used to buy new gear or upgrade our skills. Ticket to Earth is a $4.99 premium game, and if you like RPGs with a bit of a puzzle twist, I think you're gonna love this one. Next up is the open world 2D old school RPG Vampires Fall Origins. And I gotta say, the character progression in this game is really interesting. The quests and the overall gameplay is decently difficult, and the turn-based combat allows for lots of different strategies depending on the opponents we're facing. And I think this is actually one of the only games I've ever played that has PvP, but that can also be played offline without the PvP mode if you don't have an internet connection. Now, the graphics won't exactly impress, but the dark and gritty hand-drawn 2D style has a certain charm to it, and it's one of the more interesting old-school RPGs I've ever played on mobile. It's also completely free to play, and while the in-app purchases do allow you to gain certain advantages, it can easily be enjoyed as a free player. And as the first bonus recommendation of today, if you haven't tried Eternium yet, which is an old school action RPG, you definitely should. Just trust me on this one. And then onto the third game, Evoland 2, which is an action RPG that, and hold on now, combines elements of almost every other game genre throughout history. Yep, it sounds crazy, and it honestly kinda is. The story of this game centers around time traveling, with each time period introducing different gameplay elements and different art styles. So 1 minute we're playing in an 8-bit stealth game, and the next we're thrown straight into a 3D Zelda clone. The gameplay essentially just keeps changing, and I think that's why so many people love this game. I mean, it's almost impossible to get bored of it at least. Now, the touch controls that have to get us through all of this are okay-ish, but the game also has Bluetooth controller support, which is definitely the best way to enjoy it. It is a $4.99 premium game, but at a 100% positive user rating score on my games discovery platform Mini Review, I think it's safe to say that it's definitely worth the price. Now, I've been thinking a lot about how to make mobile games lately, and that's where today's sponsor comes in, because Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of online classes. So I'm currently taking a class by Michael Murr called Masterclass in C# Programming and Unity 2D Game Development, where I just learned how to use character sprites for 2D games. And if you're like me and you have a specific skill you're trying to learn, Skillshare is honestly a great place to start that journey. And there's just so much to pick from. They've got courses on everything from graphics design and productivity to photography, web development, and just so much more. They pretty much have something for any interest. Skillshare is also completely ad-free. They launch new premium classes every week. You get unlimited access to all their classes with just one affordable membership, and their entire catalog is available with subtitles in Spanish, French, Portuguese, and German. And because they're sponsoring this video, the first 1,000 people to use the link in the description below will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so you can explore their entire catalog of classes. So click the link below to start learning those new skills you've always wanted, and thanks to you for supporting the channel, thanks to Skillshare for being awesome, and now back to the best offline mobile RPGs. Because next is DragonSpear-EX, which is a side-scrolling action RPG with fluid combat, online co-op raid bosses, and no energy system ads or in-app purchases. And that last part is actually really important, because this used to be a pay-to-win gacha game that has now been turned into a premium mobile game, and I'm just really enjoying it. So the core gameplay is split into levels that have enemies storm at us from all sides, while we move around and use normal attack to charge up mana for these over-the-top skills that just deal a ton of damage. Equipping and upgrading loot is also a big part of this game, and bosses even provide us with materials used to add set bonuses, and if we equip multiple set bonus pieces, we unlock huge benefits such as, for example, stun resistance. So I'm liking the gameplay, I'm liking the combat systems, but the storyline though, well, it isn't exactly thrilling, and the English translation is a bit so-so as well, but the gameplay and nicely paced progression more than make up for that, so it's definitely worth checking out this $4.99 premium game. And as an alternative 2D RPG that is free to play, I can also strongly recommend the story-driven JRPG Another Eden, which I really enjoyed playing a few years ago. Next up is the epic Conquest games, of which there are actually 2 available on Android now. They feature a fun and lighthearted story, a neat 3D combat system, interesting monsters and bosses with unique abilities, and just lots of items to craft. Both the first and the second epic Conquest game is also completely free to play, and none of the optional in-app purchases are necessary to enjoy the games. I know many mobile gamers who consider these some of their favorite action RPGs on mobile, and so if you're on Android, definitely check them out. And as yet another quick bonus recommendation for those on Android, Slice and Dice is also really awesome, and I strongly recommend checking it out if you haven't already. Now, as game number 6, I picked Stardew Valley. I mean, it's truly one of the staples of the RPG genre on mobile, and I don't think anyone really dislikes this game. It's essentially a $7.99 farming simulator RPG where we slowly expand a plot of land by catching fish, growing crops, raising chickens and cows, and then selling it all for gold so we can expand further. But it's also an adventure game, so we'll soon enough be exploring, meeting new characters around town, completing quests, and much more like that. There's just so much content here, and it's easy to dive hundreds of hours into this game. I think this perfect balance between farming, exploring, and questing is what makes the game so popular, and a big part of why it has a perfect 100% user rating score on MiniReview. So it's really just an easy recommendation to make. Next up is the story-driven open-world action survival RPG Crashlands. This is a game all about exploring, fighting enemies, gathering resources, crafting tools, building houses, and completing fun quests on an alien planet that we've crash-landed on. And there really is a lot to craft in this game, so if you're into extensive crafting systems and resource gathering, you're probably gonna love this game. The story is also great, and there are lots of side quests to keep us occupied, not to mention the infinite randomly generated worlds to explore. And maybe best of all, the game is priced at just $6.99 with no ads and no additional in-app purchases, which is actually pretty cheap for a game of this quality. But if what you're looking for is a free offline RPG instead, you might just want to check out the old school first-person 3D RPG Moonshades. This game just has it all. Real-time combat, an open-world network of interconnected dungeons full of traps and puzzles, and a dark fantasy story that we're told through interacting with NPCs and objects. There's also no tutorial in this game, which creates a great adventurous feel as we're forced to explore and basically just learn the game on our own, which is an aspect I used to love about old MMORPGs back in the day. The game is entirely free to play with just a few in-app purchases that allow us to buy extra inventory space and some permanent stat boosts, but none of them are really necessary, so the monetization is mostly there to support the indie developer. And as a bonus recommendation, if you love these old school RPGs just as much as I do, you just have to check out Exiled Kingdoms as well. It's an amazing game, so don't let the art style fool you there on this one. It truly has a lot to offer for any RPG fan, so if you haven't tried it yet, definitely check it out. Next up is the turn-based JRPG Battle Chasers Nightwar, where we set out on a journey across danger-filled lands to fight monsters, collect loot, gradually upgrade new skills and abilities, collect resources, complete quests, and of course, solve mysteries. And I mean, just look at this. The beautiful hand-drawn art style, full of landscapes and highly detailed characters, really make this game stand out, but it also means that it takes up over 2 GB of space, so just do be aware of that. It is a $10 premium game, which I think actually makes it today's most expensive game, but it also offers over 40 hours of great gameplay, so I can highly recommend it, and especially if you love JRPGs. And as a quick bonus recommendation, you might also want to check out Chrono Trigger, which is arguably one of the best turn-based RPGs ever made for any platform, and it is also available on mobile. Now, all of these games are obviously great, but now for one of the really good ones, Siralim Ultimate. This is a truly unique monster-catching RPG, and it just has so much to offer. Lots of unique classes to pick from, over 1,000 monsters to collect, and an almost endless amount of content. So the game essentially has us explore these randomly generated worlds to fight monsters, and any monster we've defeated in battle, we can then summon to help us. And since they all have unique attacks and abilities, there's just so much depth to the gameplay. It's a $9.99 premium game. It has controller support, it features cloud save across PC and mobile, you can play it offline, and if you like monster catching RPGs, there's just very few games like it, so definitely check it out. There you go, my friends, 15 awesome offline playable RPGs on mobile. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if I missed any great ones. Follow along for much more mobile gaming goodness, and until next time, just keep gaming, stay awesome, and I'll see you guys around.